This is one of the biggest projects in the history of the Jockey Club, the construction of a state-of-the-art training center across the border in mainland China. Now, it's a training center, so keep that in mind as I go through the presentation. The Chongfa Training Center is due to open during the 2017-18 racing season, providing the Jockey Club with a type of modern training facilities that cannot be considered currently at Sha Tin due to space and land limitations, as well as allowing the Jockey Club the flexibility to pursue any new business opportunities that may arise in the future. Let me now update you about the Chongfa Training Center and some of the history behind its development. Sha Tin is the single-site home of stabling and training facilities in Hong Kong. Happy Valley, as you know, is our second race course, but Sha Tin is where all Hong Kong-based horses are stabled and trained. We have outgrown our initial design capacity as the number of races and the number of horses have increased through the years. There's limited land supply in Hong Kong. It's difficult to find a piece of land with sufficient size to address this need. Also, land cost is expensive. Back in 2008, Hong Kong had the only recognized equine health status in the mainland China region. Thus, the Beijing Olympics Organizing Committee asked the Hong Kong government, which in turn sought help of the Hong Kong Jockey Club, to host the 2008 Olympic equestrian competitions in Hong Kong. The event was incredibly successful from end to end. The venue, the facilities, the stables, and ultimately the competitions. This will also help explain why we make reference to a section of the Sha Tin stable complex as the Olympic stables, legacy from the 2008 Olympic Games. Now, as a result of the successful 2008 Beijing Olympics, the Jockey Club expanded the cooperation with the Guangzhou government to plan for a thoroughbred training center, a legacy of the Asian Games. The Jockey Club's support to the Asian Games and the training center plan were endorsed by the State Council of the Central Government of mainland China. This was a significant approval from the central government, which helped to drive support from various ministries and their branches in Guangzhou City and Guangdong Province. The Jockey Club drove the venue design, construction, provision of equipment, technical advice, and financial sponsorship. The most important outcome of this support was the establishment of the equine disease-free zone as part of the Asian Games. Now, this is still the first and the only disease-free zone in mainland China and is recognized by the OIE and the EU. The arrangements with Hong Kong quarantine authorities for frequent horse movement, express border crossing, exemptions for certain quarantine requirements for thoroughbred horses are the cornerstone of the implementation of the Thoroughbred Training Center in Chongfa. Now, where is Chongfa? Well, from Hong Kong, by horse float, it's about 4 to 5 hours away. By car, it would take 3 to 3.5 hours, and there'll be a high-speed rail transit completed in 2017 from Hong Kong to Guangzhou. Including transit time, again, it's 2.5 hours. Hong Kong shares the same Cantonese dialect and is very similar in culture to Guangdong Province. In fact, most of the people living in Hong Kong were originally from Guangdong Province. Chongfa is a major holiday destination. It has been a holiday destination for senior mainland leadership, but also for international leaders such as President Nixon of the United States and Vietnamese President Ho Chi Minh. New resorts were recently completed, and some are currently under construction to align the government's directive to make Chongfa a premier holiday destination. Chongfa has golf courses and is famous for its hot spring and natural environment. Unlike other nearby regions, Chongfa has only few industrial establishments, and the river from Chongfa supplies 60% of the drinking water to the provincial capital, Guangzhou. The Chungfa Training Center has a site maximization for the stabling of 1,500 horses and associated state-of-the-art facilities. The design of the training center has fully utilized the natural beauty of the local landscape and is set with a backdrop of hills and greenery, making it a quiet, peaceful, and beautiful setting for the training of our horses. The Chungfa Training Center will commence operations in the 2017-18 racing season with initial stabling for 496 horses. It features usable land of 105 hectares compared to Sha Tin at 73 hectares, which provides the Jockey Club with 43% more usable land than Sha Tin. The center has secure entry access points to ensure the integrity of the health status of horses stabled and trained at the center, so as to maintain horses' health status. Each stable, as you can see, has 2 walking machines and turnout paddocks at the side of the stables. The stables compound has been designed on the basis of separate road systems for vehicles and horses. The stables and other back-of-the-house facilities are located 8 meters below the level of the tracks to optimize future sightline requirements. The training center will initially commence operations with a 2,000-meter sand-based turf track, 30 meters wide, as well as 2 American dirt tracks, one 1,800 meters and the other 1,600 meters. There will also be an 1,100-meter synthetic uphill gallop. The center will also be supported by on-site, world-class veterinary farrier facilities, as well as other support facilities such as a media center, staff training facilities, offices, central store, and more. In addition, the Jockey Club will relocate its spelling facilities from Bees River to Chungfa to take advantage of the peaceful, relaxed rural area, and of course the additional land that's available to us. Each of those 16 paddocks will be available to accommodate several horses. Then the horses will be returned to the general stables at night. The center will also provide an equine pool, which has a dual design, by offering either a straight swim or an oval swim for horses which require longer swims to avoid the inconvenience of having to re-enter the pool. The equine pool area has ample room for future expansion to cater for facilities such as aquasizers. The Chungfa Training Center is an additional facility to Sha Tin, and in the opening phase in 2017-18, approximately 350 horses will be transferred from Sha Tin to Chungfa, leaving approximately 900 horses in training in Hong Kong at Sha Tin. The Chungfa Center will ease the pressure on Sha Tin and provide future options for the Jockey Club to later consider. In general, rules and regulations are much more developed in Hong Kong. The Jockey Club has a history of 130 years of horse racing. Quarantine authorities of Hong Kong and the mainland China have agreed to cooperate, share information, and implement consistent measures to protect the disease-free zone between Hong Kong and the Chungfa Training Center without a need for comprehensive quarantine inspection or idle time. The mainland border control will provide a green lane. That's a passage for express border passage across the busy Hong Kong mainland border. That's a very, very important breakthrough. The border control will also allow traveling grooms to accompany horses in the restricted cargo zone. This is to ensure sound horse care is provided during transit between Hong Kong and Chungfa. This project is a demonstration of high-level cooperation between the mainland China and Hong Kong. In general, taxation on import of horses as well as import protocol of medication and feed require special attention and time. the Ministry of Agriculture and the Food and Drug Administration have provided exceptional dispensation to the Jockey Club to import drugs to be used exclusively at the Chung Fa Training Center for the care of horses. The Ministry of Agriculture is also providing exemptions to the Jockey Club's veterinarians to practice at the training center, ensuring consistent medical care is extended from Hong Kong to Chung Fa. The Jockey Club is doing its part, helping to develop veterinary expertise in mainland China as part of this mutual cooperation, which we greatly appreciate. We will feature showcase racing. Let me show this first, and I'll come back to it. This is a look at the training center. Here is the entry point, part of the biosecurity check where horses will come in. There's a second biosecurity check here where the horses will be unloaded. At this point here, you can see above that is the Racing Development Board stable for 60 horses that will assist in staff training. Coming down below that, now you'll see the isolation stable, which is back here. And then we are moving on closer to where the uphill gallop will be situated on the site right here, which is on the left. You can barely see it on the left, and that will most likely, that will be a synthetic track. It's a 2,000-meter track coming up. You can see part of it there. That will be the 1,000-meter chute. This is the veterinary hospital here, farrier facilities. And this is all real. This is what it's going to look like. Trotting ring there. And you can see the beautiful landscape behind and the greenery. So this will be an absolutely magnificent site. Again, it's a 2,000-meter grass track, 30 meters wide, with 2 American dirt tracks inside, in addition to the uphill gallop. So this will give us opportunities to train horses that we really don't have in Hong Kong currently, particularly through the uphill gallop. It's a 400-meter straight. And again, it's a training center. So what we will do is we will feature showcase racing in Chung Fa, much like we do in Hong Kong with our pre-season Owners Carnival at Sha Tin. There's no wagering. We get about 9,000 people to come. There are barrier trials. It's a 6-hour day, roughly 6-hour day, with a lot of family fun activities, culminating with our barrier trials later in the afternoon. We also do this monthly at Happy Valley with barrier trials once a month on a Saturday morning at the Valley. So we'll transfer some of this in a modified version to Chung Fa, really to build awareness within Chung Fa, to be a good community partner, and also to really develop interest in the sport. Now, in closing, the future for us is really one country, one club, one equine health status. Winfried mentioned briefly about the need to develop software, and this is probably the biggest challenge. We have the expertise to really build the training center, particularly the expertise to build and maintain the tracks. But we have a critical path, and we're really working very diligently. We have one site already in the southern part of China where we're training staff already. Soon we'll have a second site. But communicating in the right language, communicating in a way that really drills home the Jockey Club standard of excellence in the staff that we put forward. It's not a one-day operation for us where we're coming in, coming out. Once we open, we're there to stay 365 days a year. And it will be a dual-site training operation. This is very important to us because the horses that are stabled in Chung Fa will be racing at Sha Tin and Happy Valley, and they'll be moving back and forth. That's the cross-border horse movement. So we're talking about really training grooms, work riders, we'll have assistant trainers, and the advantage that we have is it will all be supported by our Hong Kong Jockey Club team. From the veterinary side, farriers, tracks, stable staff, Racing Development Board, we have a great team in place that will help complement and support that as we implement and introduce our training center to Chung Fa. We'll also have showcase racing, again, which will help build awareness and really be a nice way to introduce the sport to Chung Fa and to show that we are, as we are in Hong Kong, a great community partner. It will be a state-of-the-art training center. And finally, the growth potential. I mentioned at the beginning 350 horses. In phase 1, we can accommodate 496 horses, but site maximization is 1,500. So there's plenty of room to grow if the opportunities are there. But fundamentally, our training center in Changfa is really for one purpose, and that's to support and sustain the great racing that we enjoy in Hong Kong. I mentioned there's been a lack of space for us to have a second site in Hong Kong. This opportunity has come to us, and we're capitalizing on it in a way that will show that for decades to come, we can enjoy the great success that we're enjoying today in Hong Kong at both Sha Tin and Happy Valley. Thank you very much.